Okay, let's talk about dinner time, because dinner really is, I think, the thing that most people, when they're coming to me or just talking about their woes of family food, I would say dinner is like at the very top of the list. There may be many other things that are really challenging, but dinner is a really tough one. And so, in order for us to unpack and take a look at why dinner is so hard, we need to ask some really important questions. We need to pretend as if we are like aliens coming down into your home and observing everything that's going on, as if you're the alien that has never seen dinner before, doesn't know what this dinner thing should look like. There's no expectation, there's no construct about what dinner should be. It's just observing what's going on, and that's what we're going to do right now. So whenever we have things that continually come up as a challenge, whether it's like a fight you have with your spouse, or an area of tension with a child, or something that even comes up within you, something that a problem that you continually run into just in yourself, maybe with another family member, a coworker, whatever the case may be, what that's inviting you to look at is there's resistance there. And what is that about? So in general, the way our culture tends to handle problems, or when issues arise, is we immediately want to go, excuse me, to the fix. We want to go straight to the solution, and we kind of Google things. We ask a doctor, we ask a practitioner, we ask an expert, we just kind of ask for the solution. So we acknowledge, sorry, my allergies are just acting up right now. We acknowledge that there's a problem. We acknowledge that there's an area of struggle, and we just want the solution. So when it comes to dinner time, you may go on Pinterest or one of the people on social media that you follow that talks about kid food or feeding little ones or whatever it might be, and we may see a prescriptive solution. It may be a picture of a plate. It may be a list of things you should be doing at your mealtime. It may be a pamphlet. It may be an infographic. It could be any of these things that are guiding you to the answer. The problem with that solution to a problem is that we are not actually asking the right questions before we are trying to find a solution to a problem. We don't really know what the problem is. We don't really know why dinner is so challenging. We're just looking at the things that are popping up, that we are ways in which we are being met with resistance, without actually unpacking and peeling back those layers and pretending with a beginner's mind, which is a concept from yoga, as if you enter into mindfulness, you enter into a situation in life and it's as if you've never seen it before. And it's a beautiful thing to be able to cultivate in relationships where you have strain or areas in which you struggle, because when you can take that beginner's mind, you can start to ask questions that you just can't ask when you're just in the trenches of all the challenges that come up with dinner. We're going to talk about those in a moment. So step one is to, as you're watching this, to be able to step back and then say, oh, there's all of these things that are going on, and I haven't really asked why specifically they are challenging. I just know that they're challenging. I know that they rattle me. I know that they don't feel good. I know that I want them to be different. And you need to ask where that should is based on. Is it based on your pediatrician? Is it based on a blog? Is it based on something another mom or parent said that you thought oh, well, we don't do it that way. Shouldn't we be doing it that way? And I've written about this before, but every time that should comes up, every time you find a rule coming in around food, whether it's for yourself or for your family, that expectation that you think should be met, you need to pause and say, thank you for that should coming up, because it's drawing your attention to something, and then ask where it's coming from. Why do you have that expectation? Why do you have the assumption? And, it would be a good exercise for you to be able to outline what your assumptions are when it comes to food. I'll outline some of those for you in just a moment, because they're pretty common. And then be able to step back and peel back some of those layers. So let's talk about this dinner thing. For most families, we are living kind of like an outdated expectation. We're taking this notion of like, again, very stereotypically, but an idea from times gone by of like the dad is out at work, the mom is home preparing the meal and getting everything ready. The children are nicely playing, and everybody comes to the table at dinner time, at 6 o'clock for the family meal, because the family that eats together sticks together. The picture of a family meal is like the picture of the perfect family. And this is our time for nourishment and nutrition and family connection and great conversation and all of these things that we may not knowingly and consciously attribute to what dinner should look like, but it's what a lot of us think dinner should look like. I'd love to know if you have had that notion, even maybe unconsciously, like this is the time to come together. It's the time to, it's the summation of the day. It's the closing out of the day. It's the time for us to be in connection and have great conversation and make sure that all of our nutritional needs are met before we go off to bed, and because the kitchen is going to be closed and there's no more eating after this meal, and we need to make sure that every one of those boxes are checked. So it puts a lot of pressure on this one eating opportunity. That's really all it is. Like if you can peel away all of those layers and understand that all dinner is just another meal, right? We have many meal opportunities depending on how many times you eat a day. When I call it a meal, I don't just mean breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I just mean like any eating opportunity. The opportunity for you as a family or you as an individual or people in your family to eat. How do we bring joy into that is really the question. How do we bring ease into that? And dinner is just a meal. But it's a meal that we put a lot of pressure on. So the things I mentioned are the ways in which we put pressure on it. And if we look at the context around that, if we look at how we're leading into that situation, what we need to understand is that it's the end of the day. You've had a day by that point. Your children have had a day by that point. Your partner, whoever lives in your home, it's been a day. Like you've done a lot of activity. There's been a mental load. There's been physical exertion. There's been frustrations that have come up. There's been things that have already no doubt happened in your day that rattled you or that you didn't expect, right? You've had moments of stress, you've had moments of joy, hopefully, right? You've had the highs and the lows throughout the day, and now you're coming into this meal. What I hear from a lot of people that, share these frustrations with me is that they're tired, right? So if, let's say you, the person watching this, are the food goddess in the home. You are the person that does the meal prep, whatever that looks like, or the meal planning. You are the person that figures out what you're eating. You're the person that does the food shopping. You're the person that puts all the food away. You're the person that does the actual cooking. You're the person that puts the food on the table. And that's filled with a lot of energy and expectation that people are going to want to eat the food that you've prepared, that you've taken on this huge responsibility. You've put it all out there, maybe not in that given day of that individual meal, but yes, maybe you batch cooked 3 days ago and to make things easier, but still people aren't necessarily eating what you're putting out. So you've had a day, you may be exhausted. You have had moments of stress in that day. So has everybody else in the family. It's the end of the day. It's the end of the family day, right? You may still go and do a bunch of other things after that meal, but it's really kind of getting to the culmination of the family experience at that point. Usually then people are going off and doing their own thing. So there's pressure there as well, because everybody in the family, particularly children and young children, but I hear this, I was talking to a woman today who has a 15-year-old son who said the same. When there's that feeling of oh, this is the end. This is my last hurrah for the day. And then we're putting all this pressure on it. It's so much harder. So what we want to be able to do is acknowledge, and it's different for every family, but what I want you to do is maybe pause this video right now and come back to it, or take some notes and do this afterwards. But note all of the different things that you experience in your day before dinner. And, days can vary, but the different things that may put you in a place of ultimately not being your best. Okay? Because if you're putting a lot of pressure, if there's a lot of expectation on a specific situation, we want to be able to show up for the way in which that can be challenging. But these are like incongruent. They don't really work together. We have this meal that is really, really high pressure for a lot of families, and we're kind of depleted. Children have different energy. It's like the witching hour. It's all the things that come into this meal, and that doesn't match. So for you, for your unique rhythm, I want you to observe what's going on. Like, put on this observer hat, pretend you're an alien descending onto your home and you've never seen any of these things before. I want you, with that beginner's mind, to observe all the different eating opportunities. What eating opportunities are met with more ease? Where are you not struggling with, like, oh, just try this food, or one more bite, or how come you're not eating this thing, or you ate this thing yesterday, why don't you like it today? Like, the questions that arise, the challenges, the continual resistance that's being met around food for your family. When do those things come in, and when do they not come in? And how can we bring in to your eating experience more joy and ease by observing the situations that already are easier and applying some of that setting, that context, into the ones that are harder? And you may be watching this thinking, yeah, but like, dinner's dinner. Like, dinner should be this thing where we sit down and we come together and we eat a meal. My kids should eat this food. I spend all this time doing it. I feel feels like shit when I like put out this meal and nobody eats it, right? Like, that's a huge, that doesn't feel good, right? But what if you can change that story for yourself? What if there's just a lot of felt tension and resistance and stress at this specific time, and maybe that's why it's not a super open-minded, or like, oh, I feel so excited about trying something new. When there's tension and when there's stress, and people in the family can feel that, if you don't have a lot of joy, if the person who's kind of like in charge of the food piece doesn't have a lot of joy and ease and relaxation and calm and different things in the food piece, everybody's going to feel that, and that's going to be the air of it. And it's not your fault, right? There's no like, oh, you did it wrong, but it's an opportunity for awakening. It's an opportunity to change the story. And so if you are noticing that there's a lot of tension there, that invitation is for you to see that when it's a tense environment, the people in your family that are experiencing that are feeling that, are going to want to go to something that's comfortable. They're going to want to leave the table and go play. They're going to want to eat the food that's only known and comfortable for them. They're maybe not going to want to sit at the table for so long, or maybe they're going to sit at the table forever because it's just taking them so long to like trudge through this experience that they don't really want to be doing to begin with. So there's so many different reasons why this happens in different families, and we're going to really, really get into this and break this down, and I'm going to give you these tools to unpack this for your unique family on Sunday at the Joyful Family Meal Workshop. Because I can tell you, having been a health coach for a decade and being equally in for so long being in that diet dogma, diet culture world, and now having spent a decade or more in the wellness world, the wellness industry, which has a lot of dogma, what we're so used to is this prescription of, I have this health goal, or I want to lose weight, or I want my kids to eat something, or whatever it is. Here's your step-by-step. Do this and you'll achieve this. Do this and you'll achieve this. And I'm here to say that that's not true. It's BS. It doesn't apply to your unique situation, your unique family. And every time you're trying to do that like uphill battle, trying to fit like the square peg in a round hole and trying to make this prescription work, it's not going to work. And so it makes sense that now, with this struggle, with this challenge, let's take a step back. Let's ask the right questions so we can get the answers that apply to our specific situations. And that's what I'm here for. That's what I want to help you do. And that's what really brings in, it's the how of it all that brings in the positive relationship with food. So let's do this. Join me on Sunday, Joyful Family Meal Workshop, and I will see you then. Please ask any questions, email me. I'm here for you.